Hi everyone, I'm Haylley Pittam and today with me I have Lindsay Mondick. Welcome Lindsay, how are you?
Thank you, I'm well. Thanks for having me.
No, it's lovely to have this conversation. So you're in Minnesota?
Yes.
Fabulous. And my first question to you is, if you're at a party and someone asks you what your job is, what do you say your job is?
I usually say that I work for the YMCA.
Do you then elaborate to what part, or do they just accept that and move on?
Most of them will accept it, but then I usually say I work in the aquatics area.
Oh, right. And your actual title, what is your role at the YMCA?
Question. So I work for the YMCA of the USA, so I work at our national offices, which they're headquartered in Chicago. And my role is Director of Innovative Priorities. So I oversee innovation and our aquatics programming for the United States YMCAs.
Amazing. How did you get into that role? Was it from teaching swimming or the aqua fitness? How did you get into that?
So both. I think so. In college, I started working for the Y part-time because I was looking to be a lifeguard somewhere, and I know that usually the Y has a pool, which was the case. So I started working for the Y when I was 18 or 19 as a lifeguard, and right away they had me jump into any other area that they needed support in. So swimming lessons. Aqua fitness, even though I had never taught and probably shouldn't have taught way back then.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was, so my whole professional career has worked for I've worked for the YMCA.
Amazing. So basically you've worked your way up from being a lifeguard and then continued on. I mean, we do tend to, once we're in that world, we do then tend to get dragged into a lot of the roles and responsibilities that happen within a leisure centre. And at that point, what was your favorite, the kind of lifeguarding or swimming teaching? Where were you at that point when you were that young?
Yeah, so I will say very early on, aquatic fitness became my favorite. So yeah, so I was lifeguarding and I also was teaching land group fitness, just some basic step classes. And then my supervisor at the time said, well, you teach land fitness and you're a lifeguard, you must know how to teach aqua. So I started teaching aqua, and I think five days into teaching, one, I realized I didn't know what I was doing. And two, I realized that I really loved teaching and I loved the pool. So it quickly became my favorite thing in the aquatic area.
So even though you didn't know what you were doing, you knew that you loved it.
I remember the first time that I said, let's do a jumping jack, and then probably on the pool deck demonstrated a jumping jack here. Like, that's how probably incorrect and horrible I was at the time.
Wow.
I was definitely in need of education.
How did the people respond in the water? Did they mimic?
Oh, they did it. They did it at first, but they didn't know any better, right? Because I was the leader. So quickly, unfortunately, within a couple months, or within a couple weeks, I found out that A.R.E.A, the Aquatic Exercise Association, was coming nearby to do a certification course and a CEC training. And so I signed up for that and thankfully got certified quickly after that. So I was able to provide a much better, well-rounded opportunity for my classes after that.
Amazing. There is a thing about the aqua community and the aqua attendees nurturing their instructors and helping them along the way. Did you find that was something they did with you? Because obviously if you were that young and then you grew up with it.
Yeah, definitely. I look back on it, right? And I was definitely young and had a lot of energy, to which they quickly tried to share that I needed to keep myself safe on the pool deck, right? That was their language, whereas they probably don't need to treat it like you're teaching a land class, right? And that's actually become one of my favorite mantras, right? If it looks like land, it's not water.
Yes, but I love that. That's great. If it looks like land, it's not water. Yeah,
quite a bit. Looking back on those first couple of years I was teaching.
Yeah, the support that you kind of get from the class can very quickly help you to change the way you are on the pool side, because if you are going too fast, they'll very quickly tell you that it's too fast and they can't keep up.
Right.
So were you swimming before when you were at college? Were you a swimmer, or did you just decide that you wanted to be a lifeguard because that was a quick, easy job to get type thing? Do you know?
Yeah, I think I've always been swimming, right? I was one of those people that was fortunate enough to grow up with a pool in my backyard. So swimming was, I know, so swimming was always a part of what I did, right? If it, and being in Minnesota, we're a cold weather climate, so we swam from Memorial Day in the United States, so May through September.
Wow.
And then I did do competitive swimming for a little bit. And then really I just knew when I, you know, in America, typically at 16 is when we start looking for our first job, or 15.
Yeah.
So I always knew that when I turned 15, I wanted to be a lifeguard. And so became a lifeguard, and then that has just led to numerous opportunities in the aquatics field.
Fantastic. What was your stroke when you were competitively swimming?
I was a breaststroker.
Yeah, me too.
And I also liked backstroke too.
Oh, really? You're one of the rare breeds that like breaststroke and backstroke?
Yeah, it doesn't happen too often.
No, it doesn't. Definitely. So that is a really lovely journey, but you still had an element of land classes there as well. So did that ever help you to then convert stuff into the water?
Yeah, definitely. I think you know, there were, and I still do believe in trying everything, right? And going to as many trainings and certifications as I can, whether it be land or water. And I think anything that we learn, right, in terms of movement and how to apply movement definitely helps us, you know, and I've definitely gone to conventions, fitness conventions, you know, continuing education opportunities, and said, okay, I learned this, now how can I take it and apply, right, and modify it to bring it to the pool? Yeah. Pretty much with everything I teach or have, right?
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that, because that's, you know, that's something that has helped me in my journey, going to the conferences, going to the exhibitions, learning, sometimes even learning something that's not necessarily a beneficial thing, and then then you learn that that's not actually the right thing for you, and maybe you want to try a different avenue, and that then gives you your own progression in your own education. Definitely.
Right.
Yeah. And so what's your favorite style in the water? What's the favorite style of class to teach?
Oh, I think it depends on the day. I love playing with choreography.
Okay.
But I love like pure patterned and repetition. I love doing pyramids. I love so I think it really depends on the day. So like there will be phases where I just do some pre-patterned choreography and get on that for a kick with a couple of my classes. And then I really love interval training. So I do quite a bit of interval training with my classes, and I think I rotate between the two. Right. And I think my class loves it. Like there are days when they come and they feel like they want to dance. So we'll throw on, you know, like 3 or 4 of our favorite songs that I've pre-choreographed, right? Old favorites and new.
Yeah.
And there are days when they really just want to work hard, and we'll throw in high intensity intervals, or like a Tabata style class, or like even fartlek style, right? Like, so different interval styles depending on what I might be in the mood to
yeah. Fantastic. And so do you just have on your timetable your class classified as just aqua, and then you can then change it, or
so it's I have a normal Tuesday class, although I haven't taught it for quite a few months now because of the pandemic. That one hasn't returned back, although I'm getting in and subbing a little bit. But my normal Tuesday morning class that I teach is a deep water, we call it a deep water power class. So it really can be anything that I want. It doesn't have to fit a certain formula. The only thing, you know, the only catch is it has to be a little bit more intense. because we designate that with the power.
Yes. Yeah.
The people know that they're going to come with a little bit more intensity than maybe some of the other intro classes.
Fantastic. There is that thing about titling your class. If you title your class, you're going to have different people coming to it. But there then is the element of more freedom when the class does just say aqua. You can then, you know, pick and choose as you want. Does the YMCA, because obviously you're in charge of the aquatic side of it, does the YMCA instigate from head office the titles of the class or the styles of which classes are going to go on?
No, well, that's a really great question. So in the United States, our YMCA, we are a federated system. So the national office can give access to training and program ideas, but it's up to the local Y to make the decisions on that, right? So the local Y can make the decisions on what their class is going to be called, the training that they require of their staff. So I don't get to make those decisions for the local Ys, which is probably a good thing, because you know, they need that local control to be able to meet the needs of the community and their members.
Yeah, and to know what they want to be able to then offer it to them. Yeah, fantastic. So then, do you then provide education or courses, educational courses that's going on within the Y, and then they can then send people to those courses? How does it work from that point of view?
Yeah, good question. So actually the YMCA in the United States, we actually partner with the Aquatic Exercise Association. So they are our preferred vendor for training and continuing education. So Ys have access to their certifications, as well as for both the Arthritis Foundation program and as well as the basic aquatic fitness instructor certification, and then all the continuing education. So most Ys use that to educate and train their staff and provide them with opportunities.
Fantastic. That's so good, because then at least you know that they're getting good education, top education, and obviously they can do their own thing, but you know that from the Y perspective, you're giving them the best. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
So what have you noticed being in the like head office type role? What have you noticed the difference within the industry over the years you've been in it? What have you seen change?
Good question. So a couple things come to mind. One is I would say more interest in aquatic fitness, even more so during the pandemic here in the United States. Aquatic fitness was one of our most full classes when facilities were able to open up, because it was seen as a safer option, right? Because of the environment. So compared to land classes, we've had a lot more people attend our aquatic fitness classes. And I would say, so one, a shift towards more people engaging in aqua fitness, both pre and post, or pre and during pandemic. And the other thing I would say is the shift towards specialized training in the pool, right? So whether it be personal training opportunities, so a growth in personal training, both clients as well as personal trainers getting more education around aquatic fitness and how they can bring clients into the pool. And then the second, as I said, small group training related to pretty much everything, right? Targeted jump training, or like the aqua boards, right? Aqua boards, there'd be yoga or boot camp, but kind of those specialized training specialized training modalities that have elevated, I think, aquatic fitness in the last couple of years.
Yeah, fantastic. We too in the UK had the post-COVID, or we had this like interim of where we could have classes happening, and there was a lot of talk within the aquatic community about how the land classes weren't anywhere near as full as the aquatic classes. They were rammed. And they are the ones that are banging on the door going, let me back in, come on, I want my class back, Right. Whereas in a land-based style, a lot of them have converted to virtual. So it's not the same. We need the swimming pool, we need that. But there is so much more demand. There is
Yeah.
so much more demand.
You know, it's so interesting, like you saying that, it also spurs that that difference, right? Like we know like land fitness people will transition to virtual because they have the ability to do it because they don't need a pool, right? But I also think that that really speaks to the relationships and belonging that happens in an aquatic fitness class, right? That it's so much more than just health and like it's holistic well-being, right? And that necessarily doesn't translate all the time to land-based fitness, where it really does. There's that connectedness and community that's created in an aquatic fitness because we all have to get wet and we all have to be in swimsuits, right? And so there's that vulnerability, but also that relationship that's built. So anyway, just an observation.
Yeah, no, completely. And what about the acknowledgement from higher above, the management side of things? Do they acknowledge that for yourself, you have seen the aqua being an important role? Do they take it seriously? Have they started to take more notice about aqua aerobics?
I can say, you know, from a national office perspective at the Y, yes, we see the pool as being an asset to our community, right? And that there's a lot that happens in a pool, and aquatic fitness is one of the strongest communities that we have. And so I know, like, again, when we're going back to, are people going to return to our fitness centers, right? We know that our pools are the reason that people will return back, right? And I think that support from leadership is really important, and it has been, right? They're investing in pools, in the infrastructure, but it's also our job to advocate, right? The importance of having quality programming and quality staff leading the program, right? And making sure that we're educated and providing the best opportunity. So I would say yes, from a national perspective, definitely. I think, you know, any YMCA or a fitness center that I've worked at across the country, that local support varies. And I'm probably like, that's probably the same in the UK, right? And that sometimes you have a really great manager who understands the value of aquatic fitness, and sometimes you don't. And then I just see it, again, it's our job to advocate and share the important role that the pool and aquatic fitness can play in the health of our communities. Yeah,
we have that a lot.
The politically correct way to say, right? Sometimes we're supported and sometimes we're not.
And it actually doesn't matter where I go. I see or who I speak to, in fact, even now doing these talks, we do all seem to have a similar story to tell.
Right. So before I came to the national office, at the National YMCA, I worked for the YMCA in Minneapolis and St. Paul in the Twin Cities. So again, northern central part of the United States. And I had the ability, so my role was actually to grow and develop our aquatic fitness programming.
Amazing.
So train staff, provide continuing education opportunities, develop a personal training program, provide a quality an assessment program for our aquatic fitness instructors, right? So I think like that's a really great example of, so our Y, we had 23 Ys, so 23 locations, right? So there was infrastructure, leadership support of the aquatic fitness side of the group fitness house, where I know I was lucky and that wasn't a part of, you know, a lot of centers across the country. So there's great ones, and then there's ones that struggle and we need to just elevate, right?
Yeah. So how many classes do you get to teach a week?
Yeah, so I have one class on my schedule, my Tuesday class that I teach every week, or I try to. My current role, before the pandemic, I was traveling about 40% of the time across the country, so across the United States. So taking on more than one class for me was really hard, but I have a goal, and I still do, to sub So I step in and teach at least 3 to 4 classes a week when I'm home and I'm not traveling. When I am traveling, I go and take, right? So if I'm visiting a local Y, I'll go and take a class at that Y.
Oh, how does the instructor feel? Do they know who you are? Do they then get nervous?
I don't usually tell them. I just say,
okay,
a new person, but you know, they'll ask if have I been to a water fitness class before, and I say yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, we have mystery shoppers in the UK, and they then go into leisure centres as a mystery person to assess whether the leisure centre's up to standards, right? Whether it's an internal thing or an external thing. And you could literally say that you're a mystery shopper going in just to double check how everyone's doing.
Well, there's a funny story that I will share. So my Tuesday morning class that I currently teach, I was actually going to that class for the first time to be a mystery shopper, right? As a part of the assessment protocol. And I walked in and I got in the pool and I was all ready, and the instructor did not show up. Turns out that instructor had left, and nobody had told the class, right?
Oh,
Oh, yeah. So about 5 minutes into the class, one of the class participants turned around and said, "You look really young and you look like you know what you're doing. Would you mind just getting out and teach?"
oh my goodness.
And I actually said, "Well, I actually do teach, and I'm happy to. If you give me 5 minutes, I'll get my music and we'll do it." And ever since then, that was 12 years ago.
Wow.
At least 12 years ago, because my daughter is 10, but I've been teaching that class ever since. But it was happenstance that I started teaching that because I was going to evaluate the instructor.
That's immense. To not turn up to your class. Wow. I mean,
the specifics, I just said that I would start teaching it from then on out. So.
Oh man, Linda has a little similar story. She started teaching because so I was a swimmer and she was my club coach, and after my training session would be Aqua Aerobics, but the Aqua Aerobics teacher kept not like coming in late, or like, you know, starting half an hour late or whatever.
Right.
And she basically said, "Send me on an Aqua Aerobics course and I will start it when she turns up late." And then she just ends up having that class. So she would then teach 3 hours coaching the swimming club and then teach Aqua Aerobics. And then, you know, I've then swum, had my shower, and then I had to wait for her to finish her classes. So I used to have to watch her teach their classes. So yeah, that's a crazy story. I can't believe the instructor didn't turn up.
Yeah, apparently it was like the regular thing that she wasn't showing up or was showing up late. So obviously there was a commitment issue of some type.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, so with the fact that you get this one class and then you do the subbing and stuff, I'm guessing, you don't do any one-to-ones, or?
I do. I have I do personal training, and so I have clients. I currently have one client that I'm training at the Y. But I usually have 3 or 4. Again, it's easier to do personal training because you can base it off of a more flexible schedule if I'm traveling, right?
Yeah.
I try not to do too many just because of my travel schedule and not wanting to interrupt their need for accountability, right?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, and it is much easier to be able to maneuver the timetable for one person rather than an entire class. That then doesn't happen. So what's your favorite way to teach then? Is your favorite way to have a class, or is it the one-to-ones?
Oh, good question. I love them both, right? I love the personal component of really getting to know somebody in a one-on-one session, right? So learning how their body works, what we can do to overcome some of those barriers that our own body puts upon us, right? And working towards a solution or a goal. I love it, but I love the energy of a group class, right? Like there's nothing better. There's nothing better than having 25 people who are just working so hard, right?
Yeah.
At their personal best. And that just energizes me, right? Like I get goosebumps just thinking about it because I can't wait to teach again, right?
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm literally on countdown. So yeah, I'm there. I get excited to teach. Yeah, definitely. So what for you has been one of your biggest challenges within your career?
Good question. I would say for me, it is balancing it all.
Yeah.
I think being a mom of a 10-year-old girl and a wife, and being super motivated in my career, I think sometimes can be an enigma, and and not that it should be, right? But
Yeah.
I think sometimes that's it's hard. It's a hard barrier to overcome, right? Either that self-imposed barrier of being a mom who travels, and travels, right, to educate people, has been, I think that's what I would say is one of the biggest challenges for me.
It will pay off, I promise, because Linda, my mum, as you know, she was traveling and educating throughout she started doing it when I was, I don't want to get it wrong, but say like 13, 14 was when she started teaching. And me and my sisters have seen this woman develop her own skills as we've grown. She has gone on to do university and stuff. And your daughter will be a very powerful little girl when she's older.
I know. I was reflecting on that yesterday for International Women's Day, right?
Yes.
And hoping that I'm being the best role model as possible.
Yeah, definitely. Whatever she ends up doing, she'll have you to be her inspiration. Definitely. So
I remember that when I'm getting on a plane and she's, crying because I'm leaving, right? Like that's the other side of it. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, there is that whole thing about, women trying to juggle everything to be, the businesswoman as well as the woman who is there continuously for the child. And there is there's that mummy guilt that people talk about where it comes to making sure they can balance it all. Right. But as a woman who had a woman bringing her up, working non-stop and educating others and traveling around, yes, it was hard work, but we've all gone on to progress to high level things that we want to do. Yeah. So I want to ask last two questions, and that is, what is your favorite piece of kit to use?
Kit? Do you mean like equipment?
Yes.
I know, like the language, like the transitions. I would say my favorite piece of equipment is, I'm plain and simple, it's a belt. I love using a belt.
Going in the deep.
Either in deep or shallow, right?
Oh, okay.
And being super creative with how you use a belt. I think it can be freeing, it can advance, right? And advance a workout, it can advance core work to make you ungrounded, right, in the shallow, or obviously implement the ability to work even harder in the deep end with that belt. So
love it.
And every facility has one, right? For the most part, if you have a deep pool. So.
Yeah. I was literally going to say that. I do have the discussion though that some of the more recently built pools, a lot of them are not being built with a deep end. Right. And I'm really lucky. One of my sites has a movable floor, and I'm able to then make it have a deep end. And I love the deep. I love having the belt on and just floating, as well as really challenging myself. I'm up there with you with the belt. Definitely. Right. Yeah.
Also, we'll say for another piece of equipment, like I know you said what's your favorite, but I also really love the water trampolines. Like I love playing on the water trampolines. Like I think they're super fun. Anytime you can bring play into what we're doing, right, and take as adults back to just finding happiness, right? In the pool. I think love trampolines too. So
but yeah, I haven't had any experience in the UK with the trampolines, but we do have someone that has the trampolines in the UK, but they're up north
Yeah, I know that they're newer and they're sometimes harder to get our hands on as a
Yeah,
facility creator, right?
yeah, definitely. And the last question is the Linda question of when you retire, which we are all saying we're not going to do, but when we retire, what would you like to be known for?
Oh, so I think two things. I think with my classes, so the participants that I teach, I just want to be remembered for creating an environment where everybody felt successful, right?
Nice.
And that they had a really good time. They enjoyed exercise, right? Because that's the goal. If you don't enjoy it, you're not going to come back.
Yeah.
That they're successful and they enjoy it. I think from a trainer perspective, in terms of educating other aquatic fitness instructors, I really have a goal that whatever workshop or choreography I'm putting together, that it is simple,
Yes.
but it's all and replicable, and it's just like an easy approach that anybody could take the choreography that I'm giving them and implement, but that it still it's still creative, right? And pushing them to think outside of their box. So
fantastic. Fantastic. No, that's great. That's lovely. And if someone was a new instructor coming to the pool, what kind of advice would you give them, with knowing that your way is to try and keep it simple so that you can use it, you know, throughout?
That when you think you have your muscles and your joint actions memorized is the time that you need to go back and do continuing education on muscles and joint actions. Because you can never go back to the basics of which muscle works which muscle is worked by a joint action, right? Like, I feel that every year we should all do some sort of education as it relates to muscle engagement, you know, how the body works through movement.
Yeah, so I like that. I mean, there is this element to where you can do the muscles all the time, but you still could easily forget one or two. And there's, you know, that the memory of it all, but also how the actions and how to do things. Yeah, I love that. Keep it going. Well, I'm also, before I end, I'm going to apologize because if you can hear the dog snoring, it is like an earthquake rumbling. It's so loud.
You can't hear him, so it's not.
You don't hear him.
That's great.
Let me turn this around for you.
Yeah, your mic isn't picking it up, so you're good. But he is super cute.
He is so loud. I'm sure when I edit it, it's going to be like.
Yeah, I can't hear it. Like, it's not coming back through me, so we'll see, right?
Well, thank you ever so much for meeting me today. I don't want to make you late for your next meeting, so I will end it for you now. But thank you for talking to me about your aquatic journey, because it's lovely to hear that. And obviously with the Y and learning about how the Y helps its instructors and so forth. Good luck with continuing that, especially in this post-COVID situation.
Yeah.
And let's hopefully get back to normality, and then we can meet up next year at IAFC.
Yeah, at IAFC, or anytime you would like me to come to the UK, I'm in. I would love.
Yeah.
Never been, so
oh really?
Yeah.
Well, I will arrange high tea, afternoon tea, and we will have a big aqua party here. But yes, no, definitely more than welcome, and I'll show you around London.
It's the goal. All right.
All right. Thank you so much, and I'll let you go because, like I said, I don't want you to be late.